After 12 years of loyalty, I was fired without warning by my boss. My name is Tom Reynolds. In 12 years, I gave that company Pinnacle Systems, a mid-sized tech outfit that liked to call itself family in every quarterly meeting. 12 years of canceled vacations, missed anniversaries, and late nights staring at code until the lines blurred into hieroglyphics. I was there before they even had a downtown office. I was there when it was just a handful of us in a cramped second-floor walk-up above a dry cleaner that always smelled like burnt soap in desperation. 12 years. And they fired me like I was gum stuck under their shoe. No warning. No sit-down conversation. Not even a heads-up through the grapevine, which, if you know anything about small offices, is rarer than hen's teeth. Just a calendar invite Monday morning. Catch-up meeting. 9 a.m. sharp. The only thing I caught up on was the fact that my keycard didn't work on the elevator ride down afterward. I guess I should back up a little. Because if I'm really going to tell you everything, and after all this time, I think I finally need to, you should know. It wasn't just a job they took from me that day. They took something else too. Something I'm still trying to figure out how to live without. The meeting wasn't even in my boss's office. It was in one of those sterile little side rooms with gray walls and folding chairs, the kind of place they hold HR seminars about growth mindsets and conflict resolution. I knew the second I walked in. You can smell bad news if you've been in the game long enough. It's in the way they don't meet your eyes. It's in the way someone's already positioned a box of tissues too close to your seat, like they're expecting you to break down right there in front of them. Across the table sat Greg, my direct manager for the past 5 years, and, sure enough, Meredith from HR, laptop open, already pretending to take notes. No coffee, no small talk, no, how was your weekend? Just Greg clearing his throat and launching straight in. Tom, after careful evaluation, the company has decided to move in a different direction. Your position has been eliminated, effective immediately. He said it like he was ordering a sandwich. No thanks, no acknowledgement of the literal thousands of hours I had poured into keeping their systems from falling apart at the seams. My mouth was dry. I remember that detail stupidly clearly. Like, of all the things my brain could choose to focus on, hey, your life's crumbling, buddy. But no, it latched onto the fact that I hadn't brought a water bottle to the meeting. I nodded. I didn't argue. I didn't beg. What was the point? The decision wasn't made that morning. It had been made weeks ago, months ago even. I was just the last to find out. Meredith pushed a manila envelope toward me like it was some kind of peace offering. Severance package details. Health insurance options. Career transition services. What a joke. Like some LinkedIn webinar could patch over a betrayal this size. Do you have any questions? She asked, her voice so fake sympathetic it made my skin crawl. I could think of 1,000 questions. How long had you known? Was this personal? Did all those late nights mean anything to any of you? Was I ever really part of this team? Or was I just a warm body you kept around until you could find someone younger and cheaper? Instead, I just shook my head once, picked up the envelope, walked out. The office was quiet, too quiet, the way a room gets after someone dies. People glanced up from their monitors, then looked back down twice as fast. Like if they made eye contact with me, the bad luck might rub off. When I got to my desk, there was already a box sitting there. Already a damn box. It didn't even feel like they were firing a person. It felt like they were taking out the trash. At first, I thought maybe they packed it for me. Maybe some intern or temp worker had quietly been ordered to stuff my things into a cardboard box while I was sitting in that sterile side room getting the corporate execution treatment. But no. When I looked inside, it was still all there. Every messy, personal, lived-in piece of a man who once believed this place needed him. My coffee mug, the one my daughter Abby had made me in 2nd grade, paint peeling off the sides. The framed photo of my wife, Maria, and me standing on the beach at Coney Island, taken back when we thought we had all the time in the world. A cracked stress ball shaped like a football. A mouse pad that said Tech Whisperer, a joke gift from a Christmas party when I'd stayed until 3 a.m. fixing a database crash that would have cost the company 6 figures. My backup hard drive, which they hadn't even thought to lock down. Guess it never occurred to them I was carrying half the company's undocumented knowledge in my head and on that drive. I stared at it all, sitting there like an unmarked gravestone to a life I wasn't part of anymore. People kept their heads down around me. A few brave souls offered weak smiles. No one said a word. No one said thank you. No one said goodbye. I packed slowly, deliberately. Like if I folded each memory carefully enough, maybe it wouldn't hurt so much later. Maybe it would feel less like being shoved out the door and more like choosing to walk away. The worst part? My badge. It was still clipped to my belt when the security guard showed up, clipboard in hand. I was apologetic but firm and asked for it. Right there in front of everyone. Like I was some kind of criminal being escorted off the premises. I unclipped it, held it in my palm for a second longer than necessary. Then I handed it over. And just like that, 12 years of loyalty, 12 years of showing up, staying late, stepping up when others bailed. Gone. Like it never even mattered. I didn't drive home right away. I couldn't. I sat there in the parking lot of Pinnacle Systems, engine idling, staring at the building like it might suddenly explain itself. Like maybe the bricks and glass would spell out some apology if I just looked hard enough. But the only thing I saw was my own reflection in the windshield. Tired eyes, deeper lines than I remembered, a man who had bet everything on loyalty and lost. Funny thing is, once the initial shock wore off, it wasn't even anger that hit me first. It was embarrassment. How had I been so stupid? How had I not seen it coming? The warning signs were everywhere. Last year they started bringing in younger guys, fresh out of college, buzzing with jargon and new ideas, none of which actually worked in the real-world systems I'd built from scratch. Innovation teams, they called them. Translation: cheap labor that management could parade around to investors. 6 months ago, my project budgets got slashed. 4 months ago, I stopped getting invites to certain meetings. 2 months ago, Greg stopped asking for my input altogether, even though I had 3 times his experience. And 2 weeks ago, they hosted a company appreciation day cookout in the parking lot. I stood in line for a burger, paper plate in hand, while Greg laughed and clinked beers with the interns. I remember thinking how different it all felt. Like I was already a ghost walking among them, only I hadn't realized I'd died yet. Maybe I just didn't want to see it. Because seeing it would mean admitting that I'd built my life on sand, and the tide was already rolling in. I leaned back in the driver's seat and closed my eyes, feeling that ugly truth sink deeper into my gut. And then, for the first time in years, I thought about Maria. Not the Maria I kissed goodbye every morning, distracted and half awake. Not the Maria who texted me reminders about milk and dentist appointments. No, the Maria who used to stay up late talking with me about dreams we barely dared to say out loud. The Maria who, once upon a time, believed I could do anything. When was the last time we had a real conversation? When was the last time she looked at me and saw more than just a tired paycheck? The truth hit me harder than losing the job. The cracks hadn't started today. They had always been there. And I had just gotten really good at ignoring them. When I finally pulled myself together enough to drive, I didn't go straight home. I took the long way, cutting through the old side streets of Utica where the cracked sidewalks and leaning telephone poles felt more honest than anything I'd just left behind. By the time I pulled into our driveway, the sun was already dipping low, throwing long, tired shadows across the lawn that Maria always said we should reseed but never actually did. Her car was there, lights on in the house. For a half second, stupid as it sounds, I thought about pretending like it was any other Monday. Pretend I still had a job. Pretend that nothing had changed. But the box sitting heavy on the passenger seat said otherwise. I hauled it inside, kicking the door shut behind me, and set it down on the dining room table. Everything looked normal. Too normal. Like a set piece waiting for the actors to walk on stage and fake a happy life. Maria wasn't in the kitchen. Wasn't in the living room either. I found her in the office, the spare bedroom we converted years ago, back when we still believed work-from-home days were going to mean lazy mornings and pancake breakfasts instead of endless hours in front of glowing screens. She didn't even look up when I walked in. Just kept tapping away at her keyboard, phone buzzing beside her, a small frown creasing her forehead. "Hey," I said, voice rougher than I intended. "Hey," she answered without turning. "Dinner's in the fridge." That was it. No glance. No curiosity. No, "How was your day?" I stood there for a long second, just watching her. Watching the woman I used to know. And that's when I noticed it. A crumpled piece of paper sticking halfway out of the wastebasket beside her desk. I don't know what made me do it. Instinct, maybe. Or maybe when you finally hit rock bottom, you start grabbing at any clue you can find to explain how you ended up there. I bent down and pulled it out. It wasn't trash. It was a letter. And it was addressed to me. My name written in Maria's handwriting, only half finished and never sealed. No date. No signature. Just a few heavy, scrawled paragraphs. My eyes skimmed the first lines and my stomach dropped. "Tom, by the time you read this, I'll be gone. I can't keep living like this, watching you pour everything into work while there's nothing left for us. I'm tired of feeling like an afterthought in my own life. I deserve more. I deserve to feel seen." It was like getting fired all over again, only worse. Because this wasn't a boss making a business decision. This was home. This was the one thing I thought I could still count on. And apparently, even that had been slipping away right under my nose. I stood there holding that half-written letter, feeling like someone had reached inside my chest and just twisted. I don't know how long I stayed like that, staring at Maria's words, reading them over and over until the letters started to blur. She hadn't finished the letter. She hadn't sent it. But she had written it. And that meant In her mind, she was already halfway out the door. It's a funny thing about heartbreak. You always think it'll come with shouting, door slams, someone throwing a plate, or sobbing into the couch cushions. Something big, dramatic, worthy of the loss you're feeling. But standing there, it felt smaller than that. Colder. Like a slow leak you didn't notice until the whole damn house collapsed. I had two choices. I could confront her right there, slam the letter down on the desk, demand an explanation, watch her face shift through guilt, anger, excuses. Or I could do something else. Something I never thought I'd be the kind of man to do. I folded the letter carefully, slid it into my pocket, and walked out of the room without saying a word. Because suddenly, I wasn't sure if I even wanted to fix it. I wasn't just angry. I was tired. Tired of trying to hold together a life that clearly didn't want to be held. Tired of playing the part of the dependable husband, the steady employee, the guy who never made waves but somehow still ended up drowning. By the time I reached the kitchen, a plan had already started to form in the back of my mind, quiet, steady, inevitable. I wasn't going to beg. I wasn't going to fight for scraps of affection or loyalty anymore. I was going to walk away, the same way they had all walked away from me. And this time, I would be the one to leave first. I lay there in the dark, staring at the ceiling fan spinning slow, lazy circles, feeling like my whole life was suspended on a string, one wrong move from snapping. Maria slept beside me. At least, she pretended to. I could hear the difference in her breathing, too shallow, too careful. We were two strangers lying in a bed we used to call home. By sunrise, I'd already packed a mental checklist. Find a place to stay. Secure the bank accounts. Call an old friend I hadn't spoken to in years but who once said, "If you ever need an exit plan, you know where to find me." Simple. Clean. No drama. At least, that's what I told myself. After Maria left for work, without so much as a goodbye, I started pulling together some essentials. Old habits die hard, though, and something made me log onto our shared laptop before I left. Part of me said I was being paranoid. The other part, the part that had found that letter, knew better. I wasn't looking for anything specific, but what I found, it blew the floor right out from under me. There were emails. Hundreds of them. Not from some random fling. Not even from some new secret boyfriend. No, these were from our financial advisor. The guy I had trusted for the past 5 years with our savings, our retirement planning, our future. Apparently, while I was busy clocking overtime and skipping lunches to build our dream, Maria had been working on her own dream. A secret account. A separate portfolio. A whole financial life I knew nothing about. And the kicker? She had been draining our joint accounts little by little for the past 8 months. Rerouting automatic deposits, closing old investments, siphoning off just enough that it wouldn't raise flags in the day-to-day hustle of life. My name wasn't even on the paperwork. It was all hers. Every last dime. That's when it hit me like a sucker punch to the gut. I hadn't just lost a job. I hadn't just lost a marriage. I had lost everything I thought I was building toward. And the worst part? She had planned it. She had been planning it for a long, long time. I sat there for a long time, just staring at the screen. There was a part of me, a big, tired part, that wanted to just close the laptop, walk out the front door, and never look back. Let her have it. Let them all have it. Start over somewhere nobody knew my name. Nobody expected anything. Nobody had the power to hurt me again. But another part of me, the part that had been grinding through overtime shifts, fixing broken servers at 2 a.m., holding together a hollowed-out marriage with duct tape and prayer, that part finally woke up. And it was done being the nice guy. I started quietly. First, I printed everything. Every email, every transaction, every document that showed what she'd done. 2 copies, one for me, one for a lawyer I hadn't even called yet but knew I was going to need. Then I checked the rest of our accounts. Turns out Maria hadn't gotten to everything. There was an old account we'd opened years ago when we first got married, something small we used for travel savings, mostly forgotten. Balance, $7,213.19. Not life-changing, but enough to start the next chapter without crawling. And thanks to the way it was set up, joint access but separate authorizations, I could move it without her permission. I transferred it all out in 15 minutes flat. Into a new account. In my name only. It wasn't revenge. It was survival. Next, I took a slow walk through the house, looking at everything differently now, not as a home, but as an inventory. The antique watch my grandfather left me? Already packed into my backpack. My signed first edition books? Boxed up carefully. The tools in the garage? Most of them bought with my bonus checks, loaded into my truck. The wedding album? I left it sitting right there on the shelf. Let her keep the fairy tale she killed. By noon, I was almost ready to go. But there was one more thing. Something I hadn't even thought about until that moment. And it would turn out to be the most important card I had left to play. Before I walked out that door for good, I pulled open the bottom drawer of the file cabinet in the office. It was dusty, packed with old paperwork we hadn't touched in years, tax returns, appliance warranties, a few crumpled greeting cards we never bothered to throw out. But buried at the very back, right where I remembered stashing it, was the document I needed, the deed to the house. The house Maria had been planning to walk away with. The house she assumed would be part of her clean little break. There it was, in black and white. Title owner, Thomas David Reynolds. My name. Only my name. You see, back when we bought the place, Maria's credit wasn't great. Student loans, a couple of late payments from her early 20s. Nothing criminal, but enough that the mortgage advisor suggested we put it solely under my name to get a better interest rate. We agreed it didn't matter. We were building a life together. What was mine was hers. Or so I thought. Apparently, she never bothered to fix that little technicality. Probably figured it didn't matter, because I'd never need to know. I just quietly signed whatever papers she handed me when the time came, too broken or too trusting to ask questions. But now? Now it mattered a hell of a lot. Because in the eyes of the law, this house wasn't hers to claim. Not without a fight she wasn't prepared for. I stood there for a minute, holding the deed in my hands, feeling something dangerous and exhilarating spark alive inside me. She thought she had outplayed me. She thought she had built her secret life so carefully that I'd just stumble into the ruins and walk away empty-handed. But she forgot one thing. I was never the flashy one. I was never the loud one. I was the steady one. The one who paid attention. The one who kept receipts. And for the first time in a long, long time, I wasn't going to be the one left picking up the pieces. I didn't leave a note. Didn't slam a door. Didn't even take one last dramatic look around the house like you see in movies. I just walked to the kitchen, grabbed a sticky note off the fridge, and scribbled 5 words. Check the office. Good luck. I stuck it right there on the coffee maker, figured it was the first thing she'd see when she came home, still expecting me to be sitting at the kitchen table like a good little ghost. Then I grabbed my keys, my backpack, the box with the few things that mattered, and walked out. The air outside felt different. Cooler. Sharper. Like the whole world had been holding its breath and was finally exhaling now that I had the guts to walk away. I loaded the last of my stuff into the truck and climbed in. The engine rumbled to life beneath me, familiar and solid, like an old friend showing up at the exact moment you need them most. As I pulled away, I didn't look in the rearview mirror. Didn't need to. I knew exactly what was happening behind me. She'd come home. Find the sticky note. Panic. Run to the office. Find the empty drawers, the missing deed. And realize, in that instant, that her perfect plan wasn't so perfect after all. I didn't take everything from her. That wasn't the point. But I took back enough to remind her that loyalty is a two-way street, and if you torch it, you don't get to act surprised when the bridge collapses under you. As the miles peeled away behind me, the weight in my chest didn't vanish. Not completely, but it shifted. From grief to clarity. From heartbreak to something close to freedom. I wasn't running away. Not anymore. I was choosing myself for the first time in a very, very long time. I drove for hours without a destination, letting the road stretch out in front of me like some old, frayed ribbon. Past the city limits. Past the broken fences and empty fields. Past the life I thought I was stuck with forever. Eventually, I pulled into the parking lot of a rundown roadside motel, the kind of place where the ice machine never works and the vending machine eats your dollars. It was perfect. No expectations. No memories. Just a clean place to sleep and figure out what the hell came next. I sat there in the cab of my truck, the glow of the dashboard clock blinking 7:42 p.m., thumb hovering over my contacts list. I wasn't ready to talk to family yet. Most of them wouldn't understand anyway. They'd just offer tired cliches about how everything happens for a reason or how this would make me stronger. I didn't want stronger. I wanted real. And then my thumb stopped on a name. Mike Danner. Mike was an old friend from way back. High school, actually. We lost touch after he moved to Rochester to start his own contracting business, but we'd always said if either of us needed something big, we'd call. No questions. No judgment. I didn't even hesitate. I hit call before I could talk myself out of it. 2 rings. Then that same familiar voice, a little older, a little rougher, but still solid. Tom? Holy hell, man. Been years. You good? There was a moment, a long one, where I almost lied. Almost said yeah, just checking in, just wanted to catch up. But something inside me cracked open, and for the first time all day, the truth came out. Not really, Mike. Not even close. He didn't miss a beat. You're coming here. You got a place to stay, a cold beer waiting, and if you need work, well, I always need another pair of hands. I stared out across the dark parking lot, heart pounding for reasons I couldn't explain. In that moment, it wasn't just about survival anymore. It wasn't about running from the ruins of my old life. It was about building something new. Maybe not the life I thought I was supposed to have. Maybe something better. I pulled into Rochester late the next afternoon, the city skyline a jagged silhouette against the bruised colors of sunset. Mike was waiting for me outside a small ranch-style house on the edge of town, holding 2 beers and wearing the same lopsided grin he'd had when we were kids pulling stupid pranks behind the football bleachers. He didn't say much, just clapped me on the back hard enough to rattle my ribs and handed me a beer. No questions. No pity. Just a simple, quiet understanding. And that was exactly what I needed. He set me up in his guest room for the time being. Nothing fancy, a sagging mattress, a window with a view of the overgrown backyard. But for the first time in what felt like forever, I slept through the night. No dreams. No ghosts. Over the next few days, Mike brought me onto a few jobs. Nothing too complicated: framing, drywall, fixing up old houses for people trying to build new lives of their own. There was something good about it. Something clean. Work where you could see the progress at the end of the day. Where you could stand back, hands dirty and sore, and know you made something. I wasn't a tech guy anymore. I wasn't a husband anymore. I wasn't an employee badge number anymore. I was just Tom. And somehow, that was enough. Maria tried calling. Once. Left a voicemail full of the usual venom, accusations, demands, a few choice words about how I would regret abandoning everything we built. I listened to it once, smiled a little, then deleted it. She could keep her version of the story. I had a new one to write. Sometimes, late at night, I'd sit on the back steps of Mike's house, looking up at the stars I hadn't bothered to notice in years. I thought about the life I lost. The people who had let me down. The version of myself I used to cling to so tightly, even when it was already slipping through my fingers. And for the first time, I didn't feel anger, or bitterness, or regret. I just felt free. Because the thing nobody ever tells you is that sometimes losing everything you thought you needed is the only way you find out what you're really made of. I wasn't the man I used to be. I was better, stronger. And this time, I was building something they couldn't take away.